was 2013, and President Obama had just won a second term. Vice President Joe Biden was headed to China. The official reason was to push for the administration's so-called rebalance of power in Asia. But the Bidens had something else planned. Joe's son, Hunter Biden, was forming a Chinese private equity fund that was planning to raise billions.
This video shows Chinese diplomats greeting Vice President Biden as he arrived in Beijing in December of 2013. Right by his side, his son Hunter. Less than 2 weeks later, Hunter's firm had new business, creating an investment fund in China involving the government-controlled Bank of China. With reports, they hope to raise $1.5 billion.
As Joe and Hunter Biden deplaned Air Force Two on the runway in Beijing, there were two cars waiting. One to escort Joe Biden to meet with government leaders, another whisking Hunter Biden to the Bank of China.
Unknown to the press back then, Hunter Biden was forming a Chinese private equity fund, planning to raise money, including from Chinese investors. 10 days after the Biden's trip, Shanghai authorities issued the fund's business license.
If I only got to hear you sing, it would have been worth the trip.
In a mere 10 days after the official trip, Shanghai authorities had issued the license. Coincidentally, Hunter Biden's new investment fund received a $1.5 billion investment from China. Hunter was on the board of directors of the group.
The way I was raised was to believe that change presents opportunity.
Mr. Vice President, what's your take on that? Was there a conflict of interest there? Was there a clear conflict of interest?
Joe Biden, while he was vice president, took billions of dollars in bribes from the Chinese government in the form of payments to his son Hunter's businesses. In exchange, Biden was soft on Chinese military and economic aggression.
In 2019, Hunter Biden was peppered with questions about his billion-dollar fund by ABC News.
What do you say to people who believe this is exactly why people hate Washington? A vice president's son can make money in countries where your father is doing official government business.
By the way, I don't know what to tell you.
The investment raised questions about Joe Biden's consistent support of China in U.S. policy circles.
China is going to eat our lunch? Come on, man. They can't even figure out how to deal with the fact that they have this great division between the China Sea and the mountains in the east, in the west. They can't figure out how they're going to deal with the corruption that exists within the system. They're not bad folks, but guess what? They're not competition for us.
It also may help explain Joe Biden's strong opposition to President Trump's early intervention banning travel from China in the early throes of the global coronavirus pandemic.
On January 31st, I imposed travel restrictions on foreign nations and anybody that had been to China or people coming out of China.
Biden called the move xenophobic.
This is no time for Donald Trump's record of hysterical xenophobia. But neither should we panic or fall back on xenophobia. Labeling COVID-19 a foreign virus does not displace accountability for the misjudgments that have been taken thus far by the Trump administration.
Joe Biden didn't just side with China on the virus. He did. He called me, again, xenophobic. That's what he said. You all heard it many times. He described the rise of China as, quote, a very positive development. Not a positive development. Not for us, it's not.
Even Trump's critics admit the travel ban was crucial to slowing the spread of the virus within the U.S.
We don't need any new sanction laws.
Biden consistently opposed sanctions on China, even when the country was blatantly taking advantage of the United States, including stealing intellectual property.
The Senate's passage last week of legislation granting China permanent normal trade relations, even though the chairman and I disagreed on that issue, I think has to be viewed as a significant accomplishment.
He fought for China's membership into the World Trade Organization, along with most favored nation trade status. 20 years later, everything Biden supported proved dead wrong. Nearly 4 million American jobs lost and American manufacturing decimated.
It is in our self-interest that China continue to prosper.
As recently as 2011, in the wake of staggering job loss to China, Biden reiterated his support for a strong China in an op-ed he wrote for the New York Times. Biden wrote, "I remain convinced that a successful China can make our country more prosperous, not less." That same year, this was the headline.
Standard & Poor's stripped the US of its AAA credit rating earlier this month, prompting the Chinese state news agency Xinhua to write, "The days when the debt-ridden Uncle Sam could leisurely squander unlimited overseas borrowing appear to be numbered."
With Biden's help, China enjoyed tremendous prosperity at the expense of American businesses and workers. This relationship led to Biden receiving a tremendous amount of money from China.
The Penn Biden Center's Penn's home in Washington, D.C. It is incredibly important that we be there to be at the center of shaping the national policy debate about our place in the world.
In fact, it turns out the Biden Center at the University of Pennsylvania is largely dependent on China for its operations. The Biden Center failed to report tens of millions of dollars in donations. Since 2017, the Biden Center accepted $22 million in anonymous funding from China. Federal law requires any foreign gift over $250,000 must be disclosed. Members of Congress cited extreme concern about potential foreign influence, as the university saw a tidal wave of over $70 million in Chinese cash flow through the doors since the Biden Center was established. When we return, Joe and Hunter Biden's overseas roadshow heads to Ukraine for another big payday.
Does hair loss run in your family?
State.
This is
As the face. Throughout his 8 years as Obama's vice president, Joe Biden paid frequent visits to Ukraine as the face of the administration's foreign policy to the Eastern European country.
Hey folks, Joe Biden. I just got off a 8-9-hour flight from Washington to the capital of Ukraine, Kyiv.
His presence became so frequent, he joked to the then Ukraine head of state.
This is my third trip in the last 7 months. You must be getting tired of seeing me as often as you do.
But Biden wasn't alone. He brought along his son, Hunter Biden.
The Biden family is ready. And we will do this as we always have, as a family.
It was May 2019, the day of Joe Biden's 2020 presidential campaign announcement. And despite the family-friendly theme, there was a key member of the family noticeably absent, Hunter Biden.
Mr. Vice President, got a quick question for you. It's a question we tried to ask repeatedly. Can we ask you about Ukraine and China? But kept getting blocked. Questions about foreign deals his son Hunter Biden pursued.
My father, Joe Biden.
In countries where Joe Biden was working as America's top diplomat.
Hunter's business dealings in Ukraine were starting to attract unwanted attention on the campaign trail.
At issue was Hunter Biden profiting off his dad's work as vice president, and did Joe Biden allow it?
A controversial Ukrainian natural gas company called Burisma appointed Hunter Biden to their board of directors, paying him $50,000 a month, despite Hunter having no known experience in Ukraine or with natural gas.
And if your last name wasn't Biden, do you think you would have been asked to be on the board of Burisma?
I don't know. Probably not.
The timeline of the lucrative appointment is revealing. In early 2014, one of Hunter Biden's close friends, Devon Archer, joined the gas company. Then on April 16, 2014, Archer visited the White House where he had a very long meeting with Vice President Biden. Just 2 days later, Hunter Biden quietly joined the board of the gas company, which was already under investigation for fraud. And just 3 days after that, Vice President Biden promised over $1 billion of U.S. taxpayer aid to Ukraine's gas industry.
I want to know what you would most like to see my country doing.
Did you and your father ever discuss Ukraine?
No. As I said, the only time was after a news account. It wasn't a discussion in any way. There's no but to this. No, we never did.
What's your understanding of what your son was doing for an extraordinary amount of money?
I don't know what he was doing. I know he was on the board. I found out he was on the board after he was on the board, and that was it. And there's nobody...
Well, you've had a lot of time. Isn't this something you want to get to the bottom of?
No, because I trust my son.
But that doesn't pass the smell test.
The stories weren't adding up. The Washington Post wrote, "The appointment of the vice president's son looks nepotistic at best, nefarious at worst." In Washington, lobbyists for Hunter's Ukrainian gas company swung into action. Newly discovered documents reveal they wasted no time invoking Hunter Biden's name to curry favor with officials at Obama's Justice and State Departments, pressuring them to quash the investigation. In 2020, Republican senators wanted to investigate the documents more closely. Democrats went ballistic.
The Democrats are objecting, and I think maybe they're protesting too much. It actually raises my suspicion level of what is to be found out in these documents.
The documents revealed an urgent meeting which took place in February 2016, during the election year. On the agenda, quashing the corruption investigations into Burisma, the Ukrainian oil company that Hunter Biden served on the board. Allegations involved fraud, money laundering, and a variety of other crimes. 1 month later, Vice President Biden made his move.
And I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee.
At a 2018 appearance, Biden revealed details of his 2016 exchange with Ukrainian officials, a demand using $1 billion in U.S. aid money as leverage.
And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to the press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion.
In a sworn affidavit dated September 4th, the prosecutor Biden refers to said, on several occasions, the president asked me to consider the possibility of winding down the investigative actions in respect of this company, but I refused to close this investigation.
I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
In total, it is estimated Joe Biden's son collected $3 million from Ukraine's Burisma. Neither officials at Burisma nor Hunter Biden can identify any specific contribution he made to the company. Early in the 2020 Democratic debates, Biden defended his actions and those of his son.
My son did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. I carried out the policy of the United States government in rooting out corruption in Ukraine. You know there's not one single bit of evidence, not one little tiny bit, to suggest anything done was wrong.
When we return, Joe Biden then and now on abortion, women, and is he mentally up to the job?
His fastest growing news channel.
NEWSMAX, you like NEWSMAX. I like it too.
Download the NEWSMAX app from your smartphone. Watch NEWSMAX TV anywhere for free.
It is so embarrassing.
If you've had it with the old news
And the same spent
well, then Spicer & Company's your place.
for the inside story.
And for the facts that you need to know.
Good afternoon and welcome to the National Press Club. Senator Biden is here today to discuss his memoir, Promises to Keep.
In his 2007 book, Promises to Keep, Joe Biden wrote, I've stuck to my middle-of-the-road position on abortion for more than 30 years. I still vote against partial birth abortion and federal funding. And I'd like to make it easier for scared young mothers to choose not to have an abortion. But I will also vote against a constitutional amendment that strips a woman of her right to make her own choice.
For many years as U.S. Senator, I've supported the Hyde Amendment like many, many others have.
For decades, Biden supported the Hyde Amendment, which forbids government insurance programs from covering abortion. Biden often cited his Catholic faith as his opposition to taxpayer-funded abortion. However, as he ran for president in 2020, he shifted course.
If I believe health care is a right as I do, I can no longer support an amendment that makes that right dependent on someone's zip code.
I think that this is an example of him being pushed from the left in his party. There are progressives and women's rights activists in this country that are saying there's no middle ground for them on this issue.
The Washington Post wrote, Joe Biden's flip-flop reeked of insincerity. At this rate, he'll be a socialist by Labor Day. Biden's dramatic shift to the left is evident in policy positions on everything from education to tax hikes to climate change. It has led some to speculate who is really in charge of the campaign's message. On climate change, for example, it appeared Biden simply plagiarized policy goals from a variety of progressive websites.
Joe Biden's campaign fending off allegations of plagiarism today after revelations that the former vice president's brand new climate change policy plan copied language directly from multiple liberal activist groups and a news site.
While some are questioning who's minding the store at the Biden campaign, others have noticed troubling mental slips with Biden which occur regularly.
My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Look me over. If you like what you see, help out. If not, vote for the other guy. Give me a look, though, okay?
His public appearances are infrequent and shockingly limited for a candidate running for president.
Have you been tested for some degree of cognitive decline?
I've been tested and I'm constantly tested.
Signs of forgetfulness plague the few appearances he does make, especially when he is off teleprompter.
You know, the rapidly rising I don't know. If you could take care, if you were a quartermaster, you can sure in hell take care of running a, department store thing, where in the second floor of the ladies' department or whatever, you know what I mean?
Episodes like these have prompted new questions about his ability to make tough decisions in a potential Biden administration.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
Seemingly confused at the details of his own health care plan at the third Democratic debate, Biden's opponents saw blood in the water.
They do not have to buy in.
You just said that. You just said that 2 minutes ago. You just said 2 minutes ago that they would have to buy in. You said they would have to buy in.
Have to buy in. If she qualifies for Medicaid,
are you forgetting what you said 2 minutes ago?
Be in for it.
Are you forgetting already what you said just 2 minutes ago? I mean, I can't believe that you said 2 minutes ago that they had to buy in, and now you're saying they don't have to buy. You're forgetting that.
I said anyone.
I mean, look.
Regardless of his past or his present condition, Biden heads into November 2020 asking Americans to send him to the White House. We have examined a number of Joe Biden's bad decisions. Now, it's up to America to decide.
Thank you all. Thank you all for listening. Oh. Thanks. 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 Okay.
Joe.